Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. How you doing today? And yes, the three amigos back for tres, number three. That's the only words I know in three, four. I don't know French or Chinese. Three, anyways. We're going to talk about when we should use a HELOC, if we should use a HELOC, how do you use a HELOC, all of those good things. But let's welcome Dion to the show first. How you doing, Dion?
Howdy, Mike. Doing good. Ready for round three.
I love how you do that. And Matt, how are you?
Doing awesome, Mike. Thanks for doing this. It's fun on Thursday afternoons with the three of us. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's good.
Like it.
So Dion, we will go to you. You probably get this a lot in bigger pockets, I would imagine. A lot of investors maybe own their home. They have access to a home equity line of credit, HELOC, and they're like, should I use it? How do I use it? When do I use it? All of that stuff. So let's create some parameters. Let's say it's a homeowner. Let's say they have $100,000 HELOC. Let's assume they own no rentals yet. Yeah, let's just assume that. Say they're employed, so they have good credit, they have a good job. But yeah, they reach out to you, Dion. They say, hey, how should I use my 100K HELOC? Because it's burning a hole in my pocket.
That's probably the right way to put it, is that it's burning a hole in your pocket.
Yeah.
Because anytime it comes to using funds, whether it's through a home equity line of credit, a cash out refinance, for me, it always comes down to, do you have a place to redeploy the funds where it's going to get a good enough return to justify the work and the expense of having the money taken out with that HELOC? I recently did a video comparing a home equity line of credit to a cash out refinance. It's one of those videos where I got to argue with myself. So it's my favorite
I love
type.
those. I love those.
And my solution for me personally is two words. Two words when it comes down to what do you do with a HELOC or cash out refinance or funds that you have like that? No touchy.
No touchy.
In the last year, we've seen appreciation of 15% plus in most markets. So a lot of us have equity that we can use for things like that. And you would think from my experience that I would say that you should put that money to work, because that's how my brother retired.
Mm-hmm.
He paid off his house, took out a home equity line of credit, would purchase a property, put his sweat equity into it, fixing it up, pay off that HELOC, rinse and repeat until he had 10 paid off. So he retired. And so I know it's a system that works. But I come from the scarcity mindset of planning for the worst. And I don't like putting my personal residence at risk when you don't have to. And I'm a slower investor than you guys. Your guys' portfolio is much bigger. You've reused funds several times. I'm a fan of saving up a down payment, increasing your savings rate by house hacking, and then putting down payments on properties that you purchase, at least until you reach financial freedom and have those 10 mortgages. At that point, a home equity line of credit might make more sense for me to put to work, but I haven't done it yet.
Very cool. And Matt, what do you think? Same question.
Yes. So I've done it both. I've done both. I don't think I'd do a HELOC now. But I did a HELOC when I was starting out. I did a HELOC against the property. It gained so much. The cash out refis weren't nearly as favorable.
Mm-hmm.
It was the LTVs, the loan to value ratios were so bad that it was like by the time you got the whole entire thing done, they were like, here's your check for $15,000. And I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do with 15 grand?
Yeah, exactly. And it cost me $7 to do this damn thing.
Yeah, this does nothing. This sucks. It's just nothing for me. But yeah, so in that particular case, it made a far more sense to do the HELOC. And what was good was I was able to get the HELOC. I think I got 120 grand, and I actually bought another house for cash. And so my payment on that HELOC at the time was probably like $600 a month or so, $650. So to me, it made sense. Maybe, yeah, $650 or so. So to me, it made sense. I was paying the $650 a month. I owned the other house outright, and then, fixed it up and refinanced it, and then basically got the money back and then used that HELOC on another property. And then after that, I did that for a while, but then when the crash happened, that was scary stuff. Like I still owed the payment, and it was on my primary plus my mortgage. And people stopped paying their rent. So I was left with, paying at that point, I think the rates had gone to, I think I was paying like 9 something a month on that HELOC. Yeah. And no one was paying their rent. So
yeah. That probably wasn't a lot of fun.
It was not a lot of fun. I don't recommend it.
Yeah. So it's funny. I'm actually kind of between the two of you. So first and foremost, getting a HELOC on the primary, I think we all, or at least I guess Dion hasn't yet. I did get one. They were just giving them out like candy. So I said, sure, doesn't cost me anything. But I would never I would never use that to buy a rental property unless the following, right? I'm not the maximum leverage guy, right? There are people out there that are like, hey, buy this, then move it here, then put it there, and then do this and do. I think that is such a dangerous strategy that all I can see is a house of cards, and it just takes one little win to knock it all over. So I will never, ever, ever, ever put my family's home at risk, ever. That said, I did use my HELOC in one situation over and over. So what I told myself is if I ever came across a deal where I needed ready cash, I would use it if and only if I could pay the HELOC back in 1 year or less. I happened to work in software where I had a commission-based job. I could forecast out roughly what my commissions would be. I could forecast out future stock options, so I knew when liquidity would come up. So I used my home equity line 7 or 8 times, and every time I used it, I had it paid back within 6 months. So that's kind of how I thread the needle between the two of you. Is I would use it as hot cash to take a deal down, but I would do nothing else except pay that damn thing off. I always told myself a year, but it was always 6 months. Because I'd risk all my rentals before I would live where my wife and daughter slept, be at risk. No chance.
There's a whole spectrum of Dave Ramsey, Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
You finance, you leverage 100% leverage to, you don't even want your own house mortgage.
Yeah.
You know, and Kiyosaki side where I believe in the power of good debt. And I know that the main reason I reached financial freedom in 10 years or less was leverage.
Yeah.
But people also underestimate the mental piece that comes from having a strong equity position. And for me, that's not tapping into things like the money that you can use for a home equity line of credit. For instance, I've got the VA loan available and I've never used it. The idea of having 100% finance on a property because you can do zero money down. I don't want to say terrifying. That's too strong a word for me, but that makes me really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I like to put down a down payment. And my first one, yes, I only did a 5% down conventional. But even that, I felt I've got skin in the game. I'm closer to being able to walk away if I had to without being in a bunch of debt on an asset that I've lost, which is what happened to a lot of people in 2008, 2009. They didn't have equity.
Yeah.
It's a powerful tool, but I'm still on the caution side for that.
Yeah. What I would tell most new investors is, back to my opening statement, a lot of new investors, I can almost see them vibrating. They almost are bragging how much their home equity line is. And I'm like, danger, 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 slow down, learn your market, do your homework. Because the worst thing you could do with a home equity line of credit is take a flyer on some market or some deal you know nothing about. I've known people that do that. Oh, dude, did you know you could buy a house in Ohio for 40 grand? That's less than my Tesla. I bought 2. I'm like, did you go out there? No, dude, why should I go out there? They're 40 grand. I'm like, dude, you're going to go broke doing that. What the hell are you doing? Yeah, it's a home equity line of credit's real money. And there's debt on it, and there's the asset where you sleep at night. It needs to be respected. I don't think it's respected as much as it should be, in my opinion. What do you think, Matt?
I agree. I mean, that's why, when I did it, it was a house that I owned. I didn't have a wife. I didn't have kids. And so it was like,
who cares?
I could always sleep in my truck. It didn't matter. I had a comfortable car, but now, I mean, we just redid it. We just went through the process to create some cash. And my rule was 70% loan to value. That way, if we're all wrong and over the next 2 or 3 years, because of some external force, my properties are worth 30% less, I can still sell and get out.
Yep.
And I'm okay. And my house isn't at risk. But at the same time, too, it made less than no sense to have 50% or 60% sitting in these assets. It made no sense to do that either. And I know that now's the right mix of lower interest rates and higher prices that allow me to create that cash from doing that. I did it on 7 properties or 8 properties. And we're literally just taking that cash. We're going to put it in a fund. And we're going to be patient and see what happens.
30-year fixed rate debt, just
30-year fixed debt. period. Yep.
Yeah.
30-year fixed debt period. I was getting a bank to work with me to give me portfolio loans where they're going to keep them on their own paper. And so
Mhm.
that's why that was the other thing that they were comfortable with was 70%. I said,
Mhm.
listen, I said, why would I give you 30%?
Yeah.
I'm not going to walk away from 30% of the value of my asset.
Yeah.
I said, so this makes sense. So that's the deal that we did. And that's the condition that I would do it under today is 70% loan to value, 30-year fixed debt
Mhm.
portfolio loan.
Very cool. And Dion?
There is a big difference between owning a property that you live in and leveraging the amount of debt that's in it.
Yes.
Comparing that to having several properties and having an overall leveraged position.
Yes.
And
100%.
that's my
Agree.
goal too, is 30% or better. I did the math the other day. I'm at about 60% leverage, so I have 40% equity.
Mhm.
So on my next purchase, if I don't buy that property with as much equity as I'm normally comfortable with, I'm okay with it because my overall position is still a strong equity position.
That's right.
Yeah, I look at that as well. So folks, again, what hopefully you're hearing from 3 folks who have built portfolios and achieved financial freedom is the HELOC needs to be respected. It can be a tool, but it should be used sparingly. And and folks, Matt, how can they follow you and be part of your world?
Lumberjacklandlord.com and Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube, and with you fantastic fellas on Thursdays.
There you go. And Dion, how about you?
Before we get into that, I just want to touch on this really quick. If somebody out there does have a home equity line of credit and you take out the money, I'm going to say this really slow. You buy a rental. You do not add a deck to your house and put in a hot tub, Dan.
I can't go buy.
Watch this.
He named somebody. Oh, do that again. Dan.
And to find me, I'm here on YouTube trying to make everybody laugh. Dion Talk Financial Freedom.
I think Dan's gonna find you.
Yeah,
He's a
Dan.
big guy too. He's a big guy. He's
Hey,
twice my
Dan.
size.
Yeah, Dion.
So-
Dion did that, not me, but Dan. Come on, brother. What are you doing? Got to buy a rental, bro. All
Yeah.
right, guys. Thank you very much. That was
Thanks,
awesome.
Mike.
Dan.